Welcome to the Bright Ideas Podcast.
So this is one of those things where you have to know your audience, right? So Javon, like, recognition is big for him. And so it's not just like public recognition, it's recognition from the people around him, right? And so as we were about 3 years in, he had done such an amazing job and, gotten, of course, all the accolades and praise from me. But it's one of those things where this is like, in sports, like when someone really outperforms their contract, if the team's smart, like the Chiefs did with Mahomes, they come to you way before your next contract expires and says, let's talk now and get you signed now. And the ones that don't do that, the people, even though technically they have every right to do it that way and there's nothing wrong with it, the athlete a lot of times gets bitter, and it's like, why didn't you come a little early? And so I knew we had that situation with Javon. And so I went to my co-founder, I went to him and said, look, we understand the situation you have. You have grossly outperformed this. And so we were upfront. We want to, basically what we said, because he was getting, still does, like crazy offers every week. And so we're like, we know you can go anywhere, anytime. We want you to not just stay, but we want you to stay forever. And so we want to start that conversation and figure out what that would look like and what that would take. Because basically within reason, money is no object. We developed such a great relationship. He's one of my best friends. And so the three of us had such a great relationship that it's like, we can always figure out the money, right? So let's start to figure out the money and then lock it in. And then we don't ever have to think about that again. And we can just build the company, right? Because as I talked to him again, he wanted to build a massive company and a massive conglomerate. And so we're like, we'll build it here, And so then we just started that conversation. So I guess the steps were, I asked him a lot what he wanted from life. And it wasn't just I asked him before we hired him. It was a continuous conversation about what he wants, right? And where he's going and how we fit. And then an alignment. And obviously he outperformed. And so it's like, okay, how can we help you get what you want while you continue to help us get what we want? And then it's just the first part of that, the very first step is a recognition of the fact that we are together and I want both of us to win as much as possible. And so let's discuss, or at least know it's on the table, that a win-win situation. And so if it takes time, and dude, it took us 1.5 years to really figure out the final situation. Because he had a lot of other weird emotional issues with money, and he wanted more equity, but he didn't want to feel like it was given to him because he kind of came from nothing, and he'd been on welfare as a kid. And he hated the shame of that. So it was very important to him that he earned it, right? But then at the same time, he wanted to be given the stuff because he felt like he deserved to have it given to him. And I was, at one point, I'll never forget, I was like, Javon, you want me to give it to you, but if I give it to you, you're going to hate me and be mad at me. What the fuck? And he goes, I know. It's a total contradiction. And I was like, but the point is that we talked, and actually, see, dude, you would not believe the financial gymnastics, but I figured it out because we're both open and honest about what we want. And we understand it's not just a light switch thing, that it's an evolving conversation. And so we actually did figure out a financial structure where he basically gave a small grant of equity, and then the rest he had to earn, but he didn't earn it he didn't have to pay for it. He earned it out of future profit share. So to him, it felt like he was getting what he deserved, but also nothing was being given to him.
Yeah.
And and then I got some payment for the equity, but not really market value, but enough that I was pretty happy. And then part of the deal is, okay, now we're tied together for a minimum of a decade. None of the three of us can do anything outside of this company, because we all knew what we all wanted, and everything we wanted to do, we can do within the context of the company.
Yep.
And so let's go. It was almost seriously, it was almost like building a family, except With a family, it's like there's sex involved, and then like you don't get to pick your kids. So there's a few different dynamics, right? And you don't get to pick your in-laws or your wife's family.
Yeah.
This is like building a family, but you get to pick your family, and you're negotiating it a whole step of the way. So it's like both better and worse. But like, you have to get it out of your head. For this to work, you have to get it out of your head that business and personal and work, or business and personal, are separate, because they're not. Right? Yeah, they're deeply integrated. Even if they are separate, they're like the roots of a plant and the soil of a plant are not the same thing. But for both of them to work well, they need each other, and they go together.
Yeah.
So it's sort of the same thing.
Did you have, and this question is coming from the experience that I just went through. We didn't even make it to 3 months when a VP level person who joined had to no longer be on the team. There was a cultural misalignment. It wasn't a lack of skills. It wasn't that they weren't a good person, just culture clash. Did you build any kind of escape hatch for you early on? So that, because you're going to learn a lot in the first couple of months of working with someone on a day-to-day in and out basis that might not have shown up beforehand, or did you do enough, engagement and advise, you having him on your board or as an advisor, I think is what you said to the company beforehand, that where that wasn't a concern?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a good question. If you're hiring, this wasn't hiring an exec position. This was like, when you hire a CEO, man, it's almost like, at least the level I'm at for smaller companies where you're like, not a private equity, where it's like there's tens or hundreds of millions and you're hiring someone with a long track record. And that's more standard hiring process. Mm-hmm. When you're an entrepreneur, it's almost like what's a really good comparison? It's almost like dating,
okay.
Like, it really is. And so in dating, there isn't like, you kind of go step by step. Okay, well, we're going to meet for drinks. And then if you like it, maybe we do dinner. And then maybe we do like a long dinner with like something afterwards and dancing. And then we hook up. And then, there's like steps to dating, right? And so with a super high level, CEO level, bet the company style hires, I think you really do need to take it slow and get to know the person in as many different ways as possible. That's why we went on a trip together, and it's why I had him in meetings, and it's all that sort of stuff. Every hire that we've ever had, like at the executive level now, like, because we've hired a couple of executives, not at his level, but the level beneath him, VP level, you want to call it. Mm-hmm. And for those people, we do the same thing. We fly them in, we spend a ton of time with them, we go to dinner with them. Multiple 6-8 people in the company interview them. People that would be reporting to them interview them. We try and put them in stressful situations. We try and put them in casual situations. We send drivers. I'm going to give this secret away. This is an amazing one. So we'll fly someone in, and then we have we'll say, hey, listen, instead of you having to do an Uber, we'll hire a driver. So like, just call this number and this company. We know who the driver is. Like, it's a guy, it doesn't work for us, but it's a guy we know who we hire for a lot of our stuff. And so like, he comes in and he evals the person, right? Because like, how do they act to service personnel?
Are they polite or rude or dicks or what? Yeah.
Exactly. Right. So like, they're getting evaled as soon as they touch down in Austin in ways they don't even realize. Yeah. Right. Because we do, for high level hires, man, you really, really do need to know the person. Another way that can work well, I learned this from Gary Keller and Jay Papasan, like Keller Williams Real Estate. Yep. We do this. This works really well. You ask for referrals, right? And of course, they're going to give you people, check them. But if the person has any competence at all, they're all going to be good people. Ask those people for the names of other people that knew that person, right? So like if I'm checking on you and you give me an old partner of yours named Bill, I talk to Bill, and Bill loves you, and Trent's the greatest, and Trent shit's gold, and whatever. Okay, hey Bill, who's someone that knew Trent at least as well as you that maybe has a different perspective. It doesn't have to be better or worse, just different. Oh, you could talk to Frank and Jim. Great. Then you start to get the real person, which is funny because I did this with Javon, and I found out amazing stuff about him. Like he never told me, but like, it was all good. It was like when he was in his mid-30s, he was married to a woman, and long story short, like she had a kid from another marriage. She got in a serious accident. He adopted her kid and raised that kid, and never told me about this.
Yeah, that's
and like crazy stuff that like I was like, what kind? Another person that he didn't even introduce me to as a reference told me about how he ran a food bank in his spare time when he was like the best mortgage sales broker at Wachovia. I'm like, he would go spend his nights at food banks, and like, yeah, it was pretty amazing. We didn't know what the hell he was doing. This guy was rich. And I was like, what kind of person doesn't share this? Like,
yeah,
like
humble one.
I thought, right. Well, obviously a humble God-fearing one, but I was like, wow, like I would be telling everybody this.
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding. I would too. All right. We are getting close to running out of time. We're not going to get through the rest of all of our questions. Let me just have a look here. I think I've asked. Yeah, let's finish up with this one. So obviously, and you said this when you were on stage, you know what my calendar looks like now? It's empty. So you've got a lot more free time than you had before. So how has your life changed? Do you do any work to do with the company at all? Or are you off doing new projects that require entrepreneuring, or what does it look like?
I'm doing both, but within the context of the company. So we're launching 2 new things this year. Well, actually, I think we're going to launch several, but in my purview, I'm building 2 new things. One is like a memoir sort of program, like kind of a new style of memoir program that I'm like creating from scratch and whatever. And then another is a new sort of publishing arm that's going to be a little different than what we do. And so like I'm leading both of those, and it's just it's me being the best version of me. I'm kind of off on an island. No one's bothering me. And like when I need shit, I go get help. But otherwise, I just come back with stuff I build, and then we test it and it gets going. And then once it gets to a level that like we start hiring people, then it goes over onto Javon's plate and he hires those people and scales it.
Got it. I love it, because that's what I enjoy the most as well. And that's, as I'm listening to this as a guest, as well as as an audience member, as well as the host, I'm thinking, yeah, this appeals to me. Because so basically what you've said is you come up with these ideas, you test and you validate these ideas. The ideas, some of them get traction, some of them fail. For the ones that fail, over the shoulder, see you later. And for the ones that get traction, you're like, all right, here team, scale this. I don't want to do this anymore because I've already proven that it worked.
Exactly right. Yep.
That's a nice life.
It's working well. Yeah, it's so great too. Dude, our company, it's so funny, man. The company is doing better than Scribe, the main company, is doing better than it ever has. And there's so many things happening there now where it's like people email me. They're like, hey, like blah, 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 your company, I saw this. Like, I want to get on the phone and talk about it. I'm like, I don't have any idea what you're talking about. Like, oh, it's an amazing video. Tell me how you did that. I'm like, I haven't seen it. I don't know anything about it.
Perfect.
Like, yeah.
I actually think the best position is not CEO. I think the best position is major shareholder that nobody knows about.
Yeah. Capital. Right.
Yeah.
Owner.
Yeah. Owner.
Best
Exactly.
position. Yeah.
One more question before we wrap up. How did this impact your staff? So at the time, how many people were on the team when you said, hey, everybody, I'm not going to be CEO anymore? How many were there?
12, maybe.
12. And now there's how many?
260.
Okay. So for those 12, are those 12 all still with, or mostly still with the company?
10 of the 12 have been fired.
Okay. So that doesn't say much for your hiring.
Over the first year, Javon fired 10 of the 12.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. We didn't do so well with that.
Yeah, because where I was gonna go, but I can't go there now. Was how did this impact the staff, and what did they think of the change, and so forth, and obviously 10 of the 12 aren't there anymore. So
I'll tell you this right now: if like I always joke about this, if the company split, like if Javon and I split, like mommy and daddy split, and you asked the kids who they wanted to live with, right? Not only would every single person in the company go with Javon and not me, I would go with Javon and not me. Like, there's no controversy. We all know who we're following.
Yeah, got it.